Vanachari Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Jai Radhe Shyam Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada
Jaya Vishnupad Brahmahamsa Parivadikacharya Ashtoka Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Guru Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasani Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navrit Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad Gita, as it is, chapter 9, text 14. You're pulling it up, Mason? Okay. No? Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantaha cha drida vrataha namasyantaha cha mam bhaktya nityayuktaha upasate satatam kirtayanto mam satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavrataha yatantascha dridavrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate nityayukta upasate Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavritaha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavritaha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavritaha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Please repeat. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavritaha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate.
Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavritaha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavritaha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate.
Matajis. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavritaha Satatam, always, kirtayantaha, chanting, mam, about me, yatantaha, fully endeavoring, cha, also, dridhavritaha, with determination, namasyantaha, offering obeisances, cha, and, mam, me, bhaktya, in devotion, nityayuktaha, perpetually engaged, upasate, worship. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Purport. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising His holy name, His eternal form, His transcendental qualities, and His uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmajyoti, is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotion. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, and Smaranam. Remembering him. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the 5 transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadashi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the second verse of this chapter, not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari. In any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become actually Mahatma, a great soul. Om Ajnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Pishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaf Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Saha Ganavaganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saha Ganalalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshri Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Turubhya Chakrapasandubi Eva Chapatita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavari Pashtati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vagisha Yasya Varane Lakshmi Yasya Chavaksasi Yasya Ste Hriday Samvittam Nisimham Mahamaje Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Tevi Tatagaro Tasya Te Katita Yarta Prakashante Mahatmanaha. Okay, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dradavartaha Namashantascha Mam Bhaktya Nitya Yukta Upasate. After always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So this verse is describing a great soul, a Mahatma, someone who is on this pure platform of devotional service to Krishna. And in the purport, Prabhupada is clearly differentiating this person, this Mahatma, from the impersonalist, the Jnani. So in the second, then he references the next verse, which the translation of that is: others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. But it's very clear from the Bhagavad Gita that this the personalist, the devotee, is superior to the impersonalists in terms of their realization and in terms of their future, actually. So, this is talking about this person is always chanting the glories of Krishna, this Mahatma. They're always engaged in chanting and speaking on the glories of Krishna. And the main way that we do that in the Hare Krishna movement is what has been given to us by Lord Chaitanya, this mantra. He has initiated this Sankirtan movement to spread all over the world and prophesies that it will spread to every town and village. Everyone will hear his holy names. And so we simply chant this very simple mantra that you see everywhere, and we chant it all day, every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama. And we're chanting it for hours and hours every day. We wake up very early to chant it, and then we chant it for 2 hours by ourselves. We chant it in kirtan for 30 minutes or so, and then we go out on the street. That doesn't fill us up. That doesn't satisfy us completely. So we go out on the street in the day and chant out there in public for about an hour. And we just want to keep chanting and chanting and chanting. We're never satisfied, never satiated by this chanting. But as Chandanacharya Prabhu was mentioning the other day, this this YouTuber did some challenge where he chanted, I guess it was Justin Bieber's name so many times, 100,000 times or something. And by the end, he wanted to basically kill himself. He was so just miserable from it, hearing that mundane sound vibration over and over and over again. And the same thing of even hearing your favorite song over and over again. Eventually, it becomes so stale, and you want to never hear that song again. That's what I used to always do. I'd find a song I like, and then I'd listen to it so much until I hated it, and then I'd move on to the next one. Actually, I learned one time that in Guantanamo Bay, this is where they have all the terrorists that, the worst war criminals or whatever, that the U.S. government can hide them away and torture them to their content without being restricted. And I've heard one of the torture methods is actually to play just like a song, just like any normal song, and they just blast it in their cell 24/7 over and over and over again for weeks at a time. And you wouldn't think, listening to a song is like torture, but it becomes more torturous than like waterboarding. It just becomes so torturous, hearing that same mundane sound vibration over and over and over again. So the people on the street that we go, chant around and dance around, many of them probably think we're completely crazy, because why are we saying the same thing over and over again? What is this nonsense? What is this language that they're speaking? I don't understand any of it. We understand that it's Sanskrit, but it just sounds like gibberish to them. These random syllables that we're just chanting over and over again. We're smiling, we're dancing, we're jumping up and down, trying to get everyone else to join in with us. So what are these people? What is happening? It's so strange from a mainstream American point of view. They might think we're completely crazy. If you go out and you see, there's actually many crazy people on the street, living on the street. Unfortunately, they don't have proper care, proper mental health care and all these things. So many people end up on the street that have very severe mental health issues. And many of them are chanting something over and over again, saying some nonsense, And you can clearly see that person's completely crazy. They're talking to themselves and they're saying all kinds of nonsense, conspiracy theories or whatever they're saying. And so, many of the people that see us on the street probably group us in with that kind of thing, They seem like some crazy homeless people. Or they might group us in with these, what are they called? What are those, that group of like the King James Bible people? No, the King James, the black people, they're like Israelites. Yeah, they group us in with those people that are out there preaching and spreading this, thinking that King James was a black man, all this kind of stuff. So we kind of get grouped in with that, probably in a lot of people's heads. But actually, what they don't understand is that what we're doing is the topmost perfection of human life, and that this is the way to get out of this entanglement of material life, of which most people in this world aren't even aware of the fact that they're entangled in material life. They don't even care about that. They don't know that they're completely tied up by lust, anger, and greed and being pulled this way and that way. That all of their so-called enjoyment is actually just being a slave to these senses and to this desire to enjoy this world, and that they'll never be satisfied. They think just getting a little bit more money, a little bit more, get married and then have this nice house. I know that house isn't quite right, but in a few years I'll be able to upgrade and move into this other neighborhood with a golf course in it, and then my kids will have a nice, gated neighborhood and be safe to play outside. And then, okay, well, once my kid, makes it to this team to, be on the traveling basketball team and he's a starting point guard, then I'll be, more happy. And then, if I get that promotion at work, it's always you're chasing after the next thing, and you think you'll get happiness from that. You might get a little temporary happiness, but ultimately that fades away pretty quickly, and you're left wanting the next thing. Anybody that grew up celebrating Christmas knows this feeling, that you get your presents and you're very excited for a couple of days, and then after a while it's kind of just a normal thing. That new bike is just another thing you have, and it's no longer that exciting new thing. So this is the nature of material existence, is everything is temporary, everything is stale. Chanting the same thing over and over again becomes very stale. And even then, even with these mundane sound vibrations, you can see that they have the tendency to actually be quite powerful, just in a mundane sense. You see like many times a popular artist will create a song that then becomes an anthem of sorts for a cultural movement. Back in the 60s, they had the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Bob Dylan and all this stuff, and they were at the center of this hippie movement that was the counterculture movement, protesting the Vietnam War and such, and bucking the trend of society of just conforming to whatever the government wanted, and going down that normal path of college, getting a job. Everybody was dropping out, living on the street, and they were chanting these songs by these music artists that were speaking of this philosophy, speaking of this mood, this sentiment. Even recently, I was thinking about that this morning. Actually, it's funny. Kendrick Lamar, he had this song "All Right," and then so this became a chant. Actually, you could see when there was I think it was Trayvon Martin or something. Black kid was killed by a cop or whatever. This happens so many times, but this happens, and then a lot of the African American community goes and protests on the street and against this, against this brutality of the police against them specifically. And so this actually became like a chant that they would do. This "We Gon' Be All Right." This is the hook to that song by Kendrick Lamar. So these mundane sound vibrations even have the power to bring people together, to rally them around a certain cause, to make them feel inspired, to make them feel very, again, like in union with each other, like they're together in something. So this was in the 60s with the hippies. They came together with this music, and then, nowadays it's still happening in some different ways. So this is the power of a mundane sound vibration. What to speak of a transcendental sound vibration? What to speak of the potency of the holy names of the Lord that, we learn through Shastra, and we learn through the spiritual master and other devotees, that these holy names are non-different from Krishna himself. There's this verse, Nam Namakari Bahudani Jasarva Shaktis, Tachar Pitani Amitasmananena Kalaha Etadrasi Tavakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaivam Idrisam Ihajani Nanuragaha. That Krishna has imbued all of his potencies, all of his Shaktis into this holy name. But because of our position, we're covered up by material existence, we're covered up by these desires, lust, anger, and greed, and all this such things. We're not able to appreciate that. We're not able to purely chant this holy name, and we commit offenses while we do so. And so we therefore do not attain the taste for chanting this holy name. So, the attendees of the monk retreat have been here now for a few days, and you've been able to experience some chanting a little bit. And you may have heard, I don't know if he spoke about this actually, but Ali-Krishna Prabhu has been here recently. And so you can see, you have just started chanting, some of you, others might have been already chanting before. But you can immediately see some benefit, you can immediately see some effect through this chanting. You can start to feel more happy, start to feel more at peace, and you just get this amazing feeling inside that is not comparable to anything you've experienced in material life. And it becomes undeniable. As soon as, at least, in my experience, when I first started chanting, the effects weren't so pronounced maybe when I was doing it, but it was more so afterwards. If I stopped doing it, I noticed that my consciousness became, it lowered again, and then contrasting that to what I had experienced when I was chanting was what kind of convinced me, okay, there's something here, there's something very potent about these holy names. I didn't understand what it meant. I didn't understand, until I came here many years later that this was, I knew Krishna, but I didn't know that this was asking for, let me serve you, Krishna, let me serve the energy of Krishna and Radha and Krishna and all these things. So even if you aren't completely aware of what it means, you don't really meditate on that, and you're not, set on the goal of becoming a pure devotee and all these things, still this mantra will have an effect. This is why we go out on the street, we tell people to chant it, we ask people to chant it when we're chanting, in the kirtan, we try to get people to chant with us. We stop the kirtan and we say, repeat after me, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And, we get them to chant it because this gives them so much benefit, actually. Just seeing and appreciating the Harinam is also beneficial for them, but chanting the names is extremely beneficial. And, everyone's out there just chanting something or other, talking so much nonsense, talking about the weather, talking about politics, talking about sports, talking about their work, their career, their education, their children, all these different things. They're constantly carrying on chanting about something or other. There's this term, awkward silence. People don't like to be in silence. They like to speak and talk about something or other. But all of this is completely useless, actually, and leads to nothing. Just leads us, to be more entangled in this cycle of birth and death. And this transcendental chanting of Hare Krishna and reading these books, this is a form of chanting by speaking about these books, reading these books. This is chanting and hearing, of course, and they go hand in hand. But chanting these transcendental sound vibrations, chanting this, the glories of Krishna and understanding Him, this is what gives us real progress in life. This is what gives us real happiness in life. This is what actually fulfills our desires. We want to ultimately have a situation of security. We want to have, eternal life. We want to have so much knowledge, and we want to be blissful. We want to be happy. And this is the route to that. This is a prescribed method that's been passed down generation by generation through the disciplic succession of bona fide spiritual masters, and they are completely realized in Krishna consciousness, and they're able to impart this knowledge upon the conditioned soul because they have that potency from Krishna Himself. They've been given this role as a representative of Krishna, and so they're able to pass that knowledge down to us. So we have these amazing books by Srila Prabhupada, and he's explained all this in nice language, in the English language, and in ways that we can understand. It's not so simple, it's not so easy actually. Becoming a pure devotee is very difficult ultimately because we're so conditioned in one sense, but in another sense it's also very easy. This process is simply chanting, dancing, feasting, reading these books, associating with devotees. It's a very blissful process. So, it simply takes us getting out of our own way, not being mental, not being caught up in all these nonsense ideas. Understanding that what these people have, these devotees have, is something special, and I can see in their behavior, their character, all the qualities that they exude, and all the qualities that they represent and are showing in their character. I can see that they are very special people. This is the first thing actually I noticed when I came here. The first person I met was Mahotsa Prabhu, and he immediately started joking with me and laughing, and I was like, this person is so different than anyone I've ever met. And then I remember meeting Chandanacharya Prabhu and sitting down with him and Mahotsa Prabhu, and they were preaching to me, and I was just blown away by how much they knew, how able they were to convey this philosophy in an understandable way to someone like me who's not so bright, and explain, cut through all of my doubts and all my misconceptions in a very, very understandable, logical way that couldn't be denied. And then I also remember, not to embarrass you, but I was taking a tour around, and then Kalki Prabhu came out of the ashram, and they're like, Chandan was like, this is Kalki Prabhu, he's like the most effulgent devotee here. And I was like, wow, I could see this person is very happy, I could just tell this is a very happy person. I've never seen someone with a face smiling like that. There's no worries in life. So just he's in Krishna consciousness, he's blissed out. So you see when you come and meet devotees that these are not ordinary people. And many of the people on the street, remember, like I said, some of them might think we're crazy, but so many of them also come and dance with us and chant with us. You don't see anybody going up to a crazy homeless person that's chanting and start dancing with them, even if they're singing something. So people, the bliss is contagious. The ecstasy of Krishna consciousness, the potency of the mantra is contagious, and people are naturally drawn to it because this is our constitutional position. This is what we are meant to be doing in life, is simply chanting and glorifying the Lord. We're compared to a leaf on a tree, and Krishna is the whole tree, and simply by watering that root, we become nourished ourselves. So it's not about gratifying ourselves, as everyone is trying to do in this material world, making my senses happy, making my mind happy, finding some comfortable, perfect situation materially, making enough money, having a nice family, this and that, living in the right place, choosing the right career that's best for me, that satisfies me, that I enjoy doing. So they say that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, right? Something like that. That's the case here for us, but the case for these, the karmis is, unfortunately, they might be doing something they love, but again, it's all fruitless. It all leads to nothing, and ultimately we have to face death at the end of life, and It's said that for the atheist, Krishna comes in the form of time, in the form of death, and takes them in that way. So they ultimately have to surrender to Krishna one way or the other. Talking about chanting, all this. But an important distinction to understand is that in this day and age, the prescribed method given by Lord Chaitanya is not simply chanting and going to a cave and taking your japa beads and chanting 200 rounds a day or whatever. This is the age of the Sankirtan movement. Sankirtan means the congregational chanting of the holy names. So it's extremely important, and of course it was emphasized by Lord Chaitanya and all the Vaishnavacharyas, that we stay in the association of devotees and we chant together. So we engage in kirtan together, and every morning the first thing we do is we're chanting something together. And then, of course, we have our individual japa that's there. And then we have more kirtan together, more group chanting, and then we go out on the street and we chant. And so this congregational chanting is the prescribed method, and this makes us actually much stronger by being around other devotees. Devotees bring us up and help us stay fixed in our service, in our devotional service, and stay fixed in our routine and our sadhana, stay fixed in our resolve to continue on. Being around fired up devotees that are very inspired to continue on Lord Chaitanya's movement will naturally just make us that way as well. You can just spend a couple of days around Mahota Prabhu and you want to distribute books for your whole life. It just naturally starts happening. You just feel that way. And of course it takes also from internally. You have to make that resolve on your own as well. But it starts by, being around these people and taking inspiration from them, understanding that what they're doing is the topmost thing, and trying to follow in their footsteps in that way. So this Sankirtan is very important. We have to be in the association of devotees, chanting in a group, and you can see even when we go out on the street that the bigger the Harinam is, generally, there seems to be a direct correlation to how ecstatic it is as well. How many people join in and dance, how great it feels to be out there, and obviously it gets much louder, and then so many more people can hear it, and it also becomes more of a spectacle for people. They see, more people pull out their phone and record it, more people are just, paying attention to it. So the more people that see it, the better. So the more people we can get to join this movement and come out with us on Harinam, come out with us on book distribution, the better. The more the ecstasy will expand, the more the bliss will expand, and again, we're just being instruments in this mission for Lord Chaitanya. We are simply trying to spread his glories all over the world, and like I said, to every town and village. There's also this verse. I can pull it up, or if you can disconnect, I'll pull it up. 1 second. Speaking about Sankirtan. So there's this very amazing text for everyone new called the Shikshashtakam. These are the 8 verses given by Lord Chaitanya. He didn't write volumes and volumes of books. He left that for his disciples and instructed them on what to do there. But he wrote these 8 verses, and these are very amazing verses to meditate upon in regards to chanting the holy names, and it helps to instill the correct attitude of chanting the holy names. I'll just go there. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vidharanam vidyavadhu jivanam anandam bhuri vardanam pratiparam purnamritasvaranam sarvatma snaparam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. It's kind of small, so sorry. Let there be all victory for the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna, which can cleanse the mirror of the heart and stop the miseries of the blazing fire of material existence. That chanting is the waxing moon that spreads the white lotus of good fortune for all living entities. It is the life and soul of all education. The chanting of the holy name of Krishna expands the blissful ocean of transcendental life. It gives a cooling effect to everyone, and it enables one to taste full nectar at every step. So this is, this Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Let there be all victory for the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. And it's saying, victory for the chanting, for this Sankirtan, not just for Kirtan. So this congregational chanting, let there be all victory for this congregational chanting. And so this is glorifying the process of Sankirtan. And just it's so amazing, it's so beautiful, what a verse, this chanting is such a simple thing to do, saying some syllables, and it can cleanse the mirror of the heart and stop the miseries of the blazing fire of material existence. Cleanse the mirror of the heart. It's so amazing. It can take all of our anartas, all of these unwanted things from our heart, all of these material desires that have been torturing us from time immemorial for millions and millions of births, simply by chanting this mantra for a short period of time. We can cleanse this, and instantly it starts working. It's so potent, and instantly it starts working. This is Krishna himself is in this sound vibration, and the more Krishna conscious we become, the more serious we become in our devotional service, the more we make the resolve to do this continuously and not to give up, and to have faith in the fact that the acharyas have given us this process, and they're telling us what will happen. They're telling us that this will clear our heart of all miseries. Lord Chaitanya himself is telling us this. This is Krishna himself saying, this chanting will cleanse the heart of all miseries, and it will stop this blazing fire of material existence. We are in this fire of material existence, and many of us don't even realize it. Think about how helpless a animal is when it's in the middle of a forest fire. It's just like surrounded by fire, and there's no hope for it. It's just going to burn up and be annihilated in that. And the only relief that can come is if a rain cloud comes and pours down upon it, and we get this mercy of the holy name and of the spiritual master. And this is, alluded to many times. This is alluded to in the very first verse we sing in the morning, Samsara Davana Nalalita Loka, that we're burning in this blazing fire of material existence, this forest fire, and that the spiritual master pours his mercy upon us and upon this forest fire, and extinguishes it, and therefore we're able to find real relief. This spreads good fortune for all living entities. It spreads good fortune for all living entities. This is why we're told to go out and chant on the streets, because everyone who hears it gets so much benefit, even if they don't actually hear it. Just simply performing this Sankirtan Yagya in the city of Atlanta, it purifies the whole entire atmosphere. The entire, metro Atlanta area is becoming purified through this simple process of chanting. And it's, what is the Prabhupada said, the imperceptible auspiciousness or something like that? That's doing this, book distribution and chanting on the streets, Harinam, it creates an imperceptible auspiciousness, something like that is around what he said. That we might not see immediately people leaving whatever they're doing and coming and joining us, right there on the spot, putting on, dhoti and tilak and shaving their heads that same day. We might not see, people's hearts changing. We might not see all these things grossly because we have, material vision still, and we're still contaminated by these modes of material nature. We're still, not fully sold on this process yet. We don't have full faith, but one who has full faith, the pure devotee, can understand that this is the most potent thing. This is the true welfare work for all living entities. This is simply chanting this mantra one time, giving one book, Parameshwar Prabhu was saying. Distributing one small book does more good for the world. It's more charity work. It's more philanthropy than all of the philanthropy that has been, performed in the name of helping humanity over, basically in all of history. All this mundane philanthropy, feeding starving people, giving people clean water, curing cancer, whatever it is. All of these things are useless because they're compared to saving the clothing on a drowning man. Whereas giving this mantra, giving this transcendental knowledge, and giving people love of God is what gets them out of this cycle of birth and death and saves the person that's drowning, not just saves this outer clothing. And then this it is the life and soul of all education. So this is the conclusion of all the Vedas. that in this Kali Yuga, the way to achieve perfection is to chant this holy name. There's no other way. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatir Anyata. In this Kali Yuga, there is no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way than the chanting of the holy names of the Lord to achieve perfection, to attain liberation. So this is given to us in the Shastra, and this is the conclusion of all the Vedas. This is the soul of education. Through understanding this, through simply dedicating some time every day to chanting, to associating with devotees, and ideally to going on Sankirtan, we are able to perfect our lives. Again, it's such a simple process, and it's really shocking. It can just be completely surprising to people that this is all you have to do. You just have to simply chant these holy names. And so people think it's too good to be true. But anybody that engages in this process for some time can tell you straight up that this is the real thing, and you can experience the benefits immediately if you simply have a little bit of faith and take it up yourself. So we are simply requesting all of those that have come for the retreat to please continue chanting this holy name. Continue on. Try to up your rounds. If you're doing a couple rounds a day, try to up it every month to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 eventually. Try to get to the standard of 16. Try to get there and continue chanting over and over and over again. You will feel the bliss. You will understand that this is the perfection of life. And slowly, all of these, again, unwanted things within your heart will become cleansed, this Cheto Darpana Marjanam. I'm actually going to stand up, brother. This is the way to perfection. Chanting the glories of Krishna, the perfect person, the proprietor of everything, and the well-wisher, the best friend of all of us. This is the way to perfection, not by focusing on ourselves. Again, everyone in this material world is simply focused on chanting their own glories. This whole genre of music, hip-hop music, is the entire thesis, I guess you could say, the entire focus of all of that music is how puffed up you can be, how much you can glorify yourself and make yourself seem like some big person. I have this many cars, this much, I made this much money selling drugs, I killed these people, I have these girls, whatever. And then the music critics go in and say, okay, well, this person very expertly glorified themselves, in this flowery language, and they use this poetic language to glorify themselves so nicely, so this is a 8.7 out of 10, and this one is, not so good, so it's like 6 out of 10. So people are literally spend their whole time just glorifying themselves, and then other people's jobs are to rate how well they glorify themselves in this music that they make. And that you go to a job interview, and the whole entire point of the job interview is to talk about how great you are, how perfect you are for that job, and how you're going to do it so well, so much better than anyone else. Politicians, their whole entire job is to go around telling everyone why they should be elected and they're the best person for it. Nobody else is good, and putting down everyone else and putting yourself up on a pedestal. What else? There's so many things. Basically, every profession is that way. Any entrepreneur has to say that my product is the best because this, because I created it, and I've created it in this way that nobody's ever done. A lawyer has to convince, I know the law better than this other lawyer, and I've able to cite this source and that source, and therefore you should believe me and not the other one. You should go with me. It's just endless and endless. People are just chanting their own glories constantly. And then the people that are really expert at chanting their own glories, everybody else begins to chant their glories as well. So these Grammy award-winning artists or whatever, this big, again, we'll just stay on the topic of rappers because they seem to be really focused on glorifying themselves. Then everyone goes to their concert and sings along their song that they've created that glorifies them, and everyone in the crowd is glorifying them as well. And it's literally a form of, it's like worship, it's like going to some kind of church or something, and some kind of degraded materialistic church where everyone is glorifying that person on stage as almost as a deity or some kind of god. We're glorifying ourselves, we're glorifying our place of birth. Everyone that grew up in America knows that going to public school every single morning, what is the first thing you did? Do you remember? Yeah. You sit there and you put your hand on your heart. You stand up. Everybody's sitting down there. Everybody stands up, puts their hand on it, looks at the flag, and pledges allegiance to the flag of the United States. So it's like you're literally I am a slave to you flag. I have every glorifying this flag, glorifying this country. And it's very actually, if you think about it, it's pretty dystopian. It's pretty creepy. Actually, that you're just glorifying this country. It's amazing. Every single day you have to do that. So that's a form of chanting. But again, this chanting of the holy names is on a completely different platform. So we already have this propensity to chant something or other. And if you go back to material life, after this retreat and continue on in your whatever you were doing before, you're going to continue chanting something or other. So you might as well at least integrate this chanting into your life in some way. Try to, have a little bit of faith. Just say, these people are saying that this process works. These people are saying that these books are very powerful, and that by reading them, they have achieved the level of happiness that they didn't have before. I can say for myself, I was very dissatisfied in material life. I was looking for answers. I would find some satisfaction here and there, but it is temporary. And only through coming to this process have I found lasting peace, lasting happiness, lasting purpose in life. And feeling before it felt like I was kind of aware of this. Well, what is the point of all of it? What is the point of getting a really good career, making a bunch of money as an entrepreneur, whatever, having a beautiful family? I knew it's temporary. And anybody with a little bit of intelligence can understand that and see that. So at that point, you've seen through the matrix, so to speak. You've seen, the reality for what it is. And so you can't go back. Now that you've tasted this Krishna consciousness, you can't untaste it. You can't forget the bliss of Krishna consciousness, even if you've just tasted it very little. And in comparison to material life, you will be able to see a stark difference in the two. So, again, we implore you, please try to just chant every single day, at least some. Set a fixed number of rounds that you'd like to chant every day, and stick to that. Don't just say, I'm just going to chant, without beads or anything like that. You won't be able to make much progress, because it's important to count how many times you chant and to keep progress at that and always increase it a little bit. This process, you can't understand the potencies of the holy name. Again, as Parameshwar Prabhu was saying when he was here, that he was just really glorifying the holy name and chanting, and it was really inspiring because he's been doing it for so many years. And he was talking about how potent it is, and that at some points when he's chanting, he feels like he just can't handle how blissful it is, how beautiful Krishna is. And this is the state that you get to as you purify your consciousness over years of doing this. And it takes patience. It takes patience and sincerity, and it takes determination that, I'm going to see this process through. And he's talking about how, to be a pure, to experience the pure holy name, you can't even experience it in this body because this body can't handle it. This body would literally die if it was able to experience the full bliss of Krishna consciousness, the full bliss of the potency of the holy names. So just getting a sliver of that, you can feel like you're gonna die. Like it's so powerful. So what else can be compared to this? What else is so sublime as this? What material enjoyment is so amazing that you feel like you're gonna leave your body because of how amazing it is? And so it's so sweet. It's so relishable. And what process is as just blissful as this? Just living simply, thinking highly, reading these amazing books, associating with people with such great character, and that are people that are so sincere and striving on this path of spirituality. The amazing thing about this place is it spits out all the people that aren't sincere. So, it's very, we're very strict and just like, it's just like follow it for what it is. And anybody that comes here with their own motives or their own ideas and they want to teach us or whatever it is, they naturally just get flushed out. It's a very nice system. So we don't really have to worry about insincerity being prevalent in the, you have a question or something? Oh. Insincerity being prevalent in this place. Has a natural filter for that. So everyone here is so sincere and so striving on this path of devotional service, trying to become a pure devotee, trying to attain perfection in this life. Nobody here is like, well, maybe in a few lifetimes I'll do it, but for now I'm just gonna kind of coast along, to make a little progress in this life. No, we're serious about Krishna consciousness. We want to attain perfection, and we want to get as many other people to take up this process as possible, because this is the desire of all the acharyas. This is the desire of Lord Chaitanya, to spread this all over the world, to spread this to as many people as will hear it. And it's only for the cream of the crop. It's only for the very the few, the few of those who will see the potency of this process, understand it, and also be willing to take up the strictness of it. Because in the Western world, this 4 regulative principles and 16 rounds and waking up at 4 a.m. and no karmi grains and all this strict following can be quite overwhelming for a Westerner who's been completely used to just doing whatever they want for their whole life. They can go wherever they want, do whatever they want. So it's only for those very sincere souls who are eager to get out of this material existence. This is the other thing that I've learned is that and it's said that you have to be so eager to actually do this, to perfect your life. It's not just for some casual person, oh yeah, I'll do a little Krishna consciousness, and it's not like the Christians that go to church on a Sunday and then they forget about Jesus, or they maybe pray for a minute or two in the morning. This is a full-on lifestyle change. This is a full-on commitment to Krishna consciousness, to serving Krishna and trying to completely rid ourselves of our own desires and simply fulfill the desires of Krishna. Is a complete shift. It requires a complete change from the very core of our heart, all the way to the very core of our heart. And we can be engaged in devotional service externally, and internally we're simply cultivating more material desires, cultivating desire for name, fame, prestige, all of these things, and this can be a big trap. So again, this place is very expert at flushing out those who are insincere, and everyone here is sincere, but we also have, many of us have again, anarthas, unwanted things. So this place is also expert in pointing those things out, getting poked. This is said that this is a pushing movement. So, all of our flaws become very apparent over time, spending, you live with people and you're around them day in, day out. Certain character traits start coming out and you become comfortable, and then you say some things, and, some false ego might come in here and there, and this attitude, that attitude is wrong. And so this isn't a place where those things are left unaddressed, you could say. A father that loves his child chastises the child when it's doing something wrong, out of love. And so similarly, the authorities here are able to point out our different flaws because they're expert in the philosophy. They're expert at understanding the process of devotional service. They're expert at diagnosing what different problems people have based on just understanding them as a person. And so they're able to very, expertly poke and say, this is what you need to do differently. You have this attitude problem. You have this wrong. So we're always growing and being pushed here in this situation. Whereas if you're simply trying to practice devotional service on your own, living at home or whatever, and you're reading Prabhupada's books, that's great and all. But the thing is, Prabhupada's books won't come and poke you and say, you're doing this wrong. I mean, he will say that, but specifically for personal attention, it's required to have the association of devotees who will point these flaws out for you and help you in that way. And ultimately, you realize it's greatly for your benefit, when you get, corrected in this and that. And by having the right attitude for it, you can be very grateful for it, and even be eager to receive that correction, that chastisement, because this was ultimately for your growth in Krishna consciousness, and it's helping you get back closer to Krishna. So yeah, Krishna is so sweet. So these names are so relishable. I have no taste for it yet, but I'm hoping that I'll develop some. But as Parameshwar Prabhu was saying, that we're covered by these clouds, but every now and then a little bit of light shines through, a little bit of hole shows up in the cloud, and you get a little glimpse of it, and that little bit is enough to fuel your Krishna consciousness, to fuel your spiritual life for a long time, actually. And just remembering that and having faith in this holy name. Prabhupada said when he came to America, he said, out of his humility, he said he has no good qualities and all these things. And he's very fallen, and he has no ability to do anything. But he said the one thing he has is faith in the holy name of Krishna. So he admitted that I have faith in the holy name of Krishna. So simply by having this faith in the holy name, and the faith is strengthened over time as we experience, again, those clouds parting a little bit, getting a little bit of the nectar of Krishna consciousness. You might experience it in a kirtan. You might experience it reading Prabhupada's books. You might experience it, on the streets in Harinam. You might experience it distributing books, and you might experience it in your japa. But either way, you're going to, if you stick around long enough, you're going to get some of the bliss. You're going to get some of the nectar, and you're going to see this is not a normal thing. This is not some mundane process. And this faith will build over time as you get more and more of these tastes, and eventually you're able to just be completely all in. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that you start making real progress when you go all in, when you realize that I'm doing this forevermore no matter what. That's when they really start to make a lot of rapid progress. As long as we're on this mental platform of, I don't know, this is so hard, me, like, how can I do it? Like, this is, I have all these things in my heart. I don't know if I can get over this. As long as we're on that platform, it's going to be very difficult for us. And, our future is uncertain. But as soon as we get on the platform of this holy name is very potent, it can deliver me from all these material desires. It can cleanse my heart, Chaito Dharpana Marjanam. What Lord Chaitanya said is true. And, as soon as you have faith in that, full faith in that, then you can make real progress. And I'm personally trying to get to that level. I'm not there yet, but that is the goal for all of us. We have to take this very seriously. We have to wake up to, the fact that we're sleeping in the lap of the witch named Maya. We're completely conditioned. We're actually suffering so much, even though we might not know it, we might not realize it. And ultimately, this grim reaper is hanging over our shoulders, always right there. We don't know when death is going to come, so we should take up this process very seriously right now, and understand the importance, the rarity of human life, and take this up with full confidence, full endeavor, full enthusiasm, and our success is completely guaranteed. Actually, it's a scientific process. So, I think that's everything I wanted to cover. We should chant with intensity and feeling, and continue chanting every single day. Make a vow that we're going to do it. And any comments or questions, corrections, please feel free. Thank you. Kalki Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is it good? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. All right. Just a couple things. I won't say so much because I save room for others. So one thing is an important point. In Shastra also, it's understood that demons also have effulgence. So that's not a sign that I'm some great devotee. Because Ravan also had a great effulgence. Uh-huh. But I was probably really meditating on sense gratification before you came to see me that day. Devotee, though. So, anyways, it's there. So, just a couple things, just quick things. So, you were talking about like chanting in the beginning, and like you were chanting that before you came to the association devotees. And I mean, I also had like a similar experience with chanting, because I was chanting for like pretty much like half a year before I came in contact with devotees. Is it good, or am I doing something wrong?
It has issues with the receiver, like it keeps changing channels.
There you go.
Something's wrong with the
Hare
button.
Krishna.
But anyways,
Okay, is it
I
good?
can hear you.
All right. I'm just going to talk louder. So anyway, so I was like chanting for some time, and then also too just like feeling the effects of chanting, and then also like whatever, losing like a lot of like bad qualities that I had, and I definitely like attributed that to the chanting and like understood that. And then also there was like some taste there, like whenever I would like chant, like I genuinely I felt like something. It wasn't like, oh, like is there something there? It was like, please, like whatever, like exciting. It was like exciting to chant and things like that. And then anyways, I just want to make that. And then also too, you were talking about association. It seems like it's coming in and out, but anyways,
Yeah.
you're talking about association, and that's like really essential in Krishna consciousness. Definitely like from like, that stage when I was just chanting, like I got to like a certain point, and then it was just like, because I gave up the association, like my bad association, but then I had no association. So it was just kind of like what I was just like by myself for until I met devotees. But that association is so essential. And then you're just saying that like within that association, we can be like helped. And then like devotees are kind. They point out, this problem's there, that problem's there, or whatever, even just like encourage us. But it's just association is like one of those foundational points in Krishna consciousness, because so many things may like happen, to us or whatever, but if we have that solid association, it can keep us fixed no matter what our mind is telling us. So anyway, just a couple like small points there.
Yeah. Thank you. Max.
I remember when I was first starting out in Krishna consciousness and taking up the practice, and my japa was really inconsistent. Like one day I would chant 4 rounds, and the next day I'd chant like 12 rounds, and the day after that I might not chant any at all. And one of the first devotees I met in Denver, he gave me a good tool to use for, like you were talking about earlier, coming to a baseline, like at least setting a fixed number every day. He said you can set like something that you could do. Like I for me it was 4. I was like, all right, I'll do 4 rounds, and then each day you increase it by 1. So you go to 5, and then 6, and then 7, and then 8, 9, 10, etc. You keep increasing till you get to 16. And if you fall off, like if you're on 10 rounds that day, but you only make it to 6, then you go back to your baseline and you work up again. And doing that helped me get up to 6, like getting solid to 6 and then to 8. So in that way, if you're struggling getting to 16 right away, it's one way to just ensure that at least you're chanting, even if you're not chanting all 16 rounds.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. Anything else? Nally?
As like chanting and kirtan, harinam, with devotees out loud is like definitely ecstatic. Nobody's denying that. And then we talk about bliss, just chanting the holy names, but naturally a person will do whatever brings them more happiness, you would say. And then people will give up chanting to hang out with their friends, watch movies, smoke weed, whatever. So, and even us, we chant our 16 rounds and then we're done. We don't chant 17 rounds or something. It's like, okay, 16, hang it on the hook, like. But if it was like really like blissful, it'd be like 24 hours a day. So what are the other reasons that inspire us, encourage us, why we should do it, kind of thing? Because we do focus on more like the bliss, but not every day is it like we're just like in ecstasy. But yeah, like you said, there's like even us, we get tastes of it. Krishna's merciful, he gives us some taste, but not always is that the case.
So saying what other reasons should be?
Yeah, like, purification, I guess. I just wanted to just...
I mean, again, this is the prescribed method of, self-realization in this day and age. So it's like, if we're serious about wanting to get free of material desire, if we're serious about wanting to attain perfection spiritually and go back to Godhead and understand these things, then we'll take up this process with sincerity. So it's like Parmesh Prabhu again, he said one time that if you're not in what is it? Basically, like if you're not in like the bliss mode, you have to get into duty mode and just like, okay, like this is my duty, I have to do it. So again, this comes more when you're in the association devotees. If you're just on your own, and like you said, you're attracted by something else, whatever, your friends text you, yo, come hang out. And you're like, oh yeah, I'll do that instead of chanting. And it's really easy to just fall into that, definitely. Or like you just, whatever, start watching some movie, whatever it is. Whereas if you're in the association devotees, they'll keep you accountable. They won't let you go without chanting. They'll say, Chandan always, how many rounds you have left. At least when you start out, he's always checking on the bhaktas, like, you finish your rounds? Yeah, we're always like, how many you got? Oh, you have 8 left, you better go start chanting right now. So it's like, we have to just stick to the process. Again, it's like, okay, it might not be so tasty like at the beginning. This is like compared to this, what is this? Anyways, like, if a child is sick and the mother has to give the child bitter medicine, the child doesn't want to take it, but it's for the child's benefit. And the mother knows, okay, you have to take this. So similarly, we tell people, you might not you might not taste it, but take it. And it's like the jaundice analogy that it might be bitter for a while, just like for someone that has jaundice, sugar tastes bitter. But the cure is to continue taking sugar, and eventually that taste will come back and you'll taste the sweetness of sugar. So similarly, we're jaundiced by this material existence, and we have all these desires covering our true position as servants of Krishna. And by taking this holy name every single day in a prescribed method, it's just like a doctor prescribes, it's like you have to take this pill once a day at this time, and if you don't do it, you won't get the cure. So it's like it basically comes down to, do you actually want to get like out of this suffering? Like, do you realize that this material world is suffering? Okay, that's step one. And then do you realize, okay, reincarnation is a fact? You're going to have to like go through so many births and deaths, and birth and death is suffering like anything. Old age, disease, nobody wants this. Okay, you accept that. Okay, and you want to get out of that? Okay, so then this is the method for it. Okay, and then you have to accept that. And again, like, it takes a little bit of level of faith, but also just read Prabhupada's books and you'll be completely convinced. Like, again, Parmesh Prabhu says, like, every synapse in your brain that could doubt or, like, have questions or, like, well, what about this, what about that? Every argument you could come up with against Krishna consciousness, if you read Prabhupada's books, all of them, every single word in Prabhupada's books, you'll eventually, all of these doubts, all these synapses will be defeated. I had this, like, experience of, like, thinking about, just, like, oh, like, I could just go enjoy materially, but then, like, I had a dream that was, and then I heard, like, if you just read all of Prabhupada's books, you wouldn't be thinking that way. Like, somebody told me that. I was like, if you had read all of Prabhupada's books, you wouldn't be having material desires like that. I was like, whoa. So, it's true. It's like, if we just read these books with attention and continue chanting and follow the process and associate with devotees, it's a scientific process that leads us to that. And we'll experience more and more taste as we go. So it's like, the reasons to continue is that we know that there's some taste there. We've experienced it a little bit at least when we first start. And then we want to see how far it goes. The people that have been doing it for so many years, they say it's like, the way they describe it is like, wow, that sounds way more than what I'm getting. So I want to see what that's like, at least for me. I'm like, you can experience pure love of God and like, see Krishna and like, actually see Krishna face to face. And this is what it says, Prabhupada's books say it, the great devotees say it. And you can go back to the spiritual world and like be eternal and be youthful and be completely blissful all the time, being with Krishna and all the pure devotees. And like, that sounds amazing. Like, I want to do that. So it's like having the proper goal in mind. Yeah, this will keep you going. Even though the taste might not be there all the time, it might be weeks at a time. You're like, oh, I'm not getting anything out of this chanting. I mean, the one important thing to do is pay attention to the chanting. If you actually properly chant without offenses and you hear the holy name, at least I've noticed, like, days that I'm able to really focus and hear it, the taste will come, definitely, like, it's a guarantee. But if I'm thinking about this and that, or like, whoa, like, my mind is here and there, and I'm in Tamagun and just like, moded out, tired, you won't get much taste. So you have to make a resolve and just like say, okay, this is what they're saying, and I trust these people that, why would they make it up? Why would they say you can see Krishna and like do this for 30 years and like, all these things. So you just trust the process. You see other people have experienced it. Okay, I want to experience it myself. Okay, like, go for it. Just get into duty mode, basically. Is that okay?
What?
Yes, please. Next. Wait, does anyone else have anything before? Because you already asked. No? Okay.
For so many mundane endeavors, it's easy to track progress, easy to track growth. Like, in sports, like, I used to shoot 60% from the free throw line. Now I shoot 80%. I used to be able to run a mile in 5 minutes. Now I can do it in 4. Like, even in business, like, I used to convert this many into clients. Now I convert more. You can track progress easily.
Yeah.
And see how you've grown and measure that. So how do you measure something like this that can't really be perceived so directly?
Okay, you want to hear a little secret that I got?
Yeah.
This is my method that I use, actually. So I started doing this. It's kind of, anyways, I haven't really told people about this, but it's not, I haven't done it so much lately, but I need to get back into it. One thing I do, and I'm chanting in the morning, I'm walking around the whole temple room,
Mm-hmm.
And so then I select a point, like I select like by the Vyasa-san is like the beginning of a lap. And so my goal is to have as many laps as I can without my attention breaking from the mantra. And just like without thinking of something else, without like going here in, in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a lot of times it can take like, I might even not get one the whole time actually. It's like, dang, I'm really like moded out, So you can instantly see, okay, like my attention's not there. But then sometimes you can go like a lot actually, like, yeah. And then like, once you get a streak going, I don't know, maybe this isn't bona fide because it's kind of like making it a game, but anyways, it seems to help me. I'm just telling you how it is for me. But once you get a streak going, it gets easier because then you're like, I don't want to break the streak.
Mm-hmm.
So your mind is naturally like, I'm going to be more focused on like, I'm going to really hear. And then it's like, eventually it's like, dang, like it messed up, So it's like, yeah, you can kind of do something like that. Like, another thing you could do is, I've tried it before, is like you just have a timer on your phone and you just like, whenever you start chanting, like, just like start it and then like, okay, how long can I be attentive? And then like, as soon as you notice your attention break, you hit the lap. And then so you can see, and you just keep hitting lap every time. And you can see like how long you went without your attention moving from the mantra. And hopefully over time it goes up and up and up, So those have helped me for sure, definitely. Who is it? Mahotsa Prabhu. Yeah. Oh yeah, give it to me.
One other thing is, the progress of chanting is seen through if your material desires.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, of course. If your material desires are going away, then you can see in that way. But sometimes it can be hard to tell. Ali-Krishna Prabhu. Pranam.
Ali-Krishna. It's one thing also, in regards to this whole chanting thing, and okay, we're not experiencing love of God right now, and I guess the devotee is saying it, and the book is saying it, so that's what I can do. That, and of course, that's like a faith-based process, and that's good. But another thing also is you should always remember what was the reason you joined in the first place. You're here now. You've been doing this for so long. There's certainly some things which are really inspiring, which really inspired you when you joined. If you always remember that, okay, there's definitely something here. It's like the higher taste, like, what gave us that higher taste? That really, because like if you really examine yourself in your Krishna consciousness, you'll actually observe and see that, hey, actually there was that point of time when this thing really inspired me so much. For me it was the Bhagavatam classes. The Bhagavatam classes just inspired me so much. That I was like, wow, this is the best knowledge I ever got. This is the best knowledge I ever received. And the knowledge aspect of it was really, really attractive. And the more, anytime doubts or anything arise, I go back to that initial, like, wow, that knowledge. And then reading Prabhupada's books, that it just gives such a higher taste. Just reading Prabhupada's books gives such a higher taste, And anything else, anything else, especially for somebody who is reading all that kirtan or the prasadam, whatever it is. But there's that one thing which really gave us that higher taste, which, God is in and helps us stay in Krishna consciousness. And then, there's always something in Krishna consciousness which will always inspire us, no matter which phase of life we're in. Like reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and personally speaking, the thing which I find the most inspiring in my Krishna consciousness is listening to the lectures of, my Guru Maharaj. That really inspires the heck out of me to practice Krishna consciousness. So, there's always something which always inspires us to practice Krishna consciousness more and more. So we should always see that, yes, and when we're inspired by that, then the chanting of the holy name becomes even better. And it's even sweeter. It's even, that for everyone there's a source of inspiration, and we should always remember that. And if you're always closely connected with the source of our inspiration, from that, inspiration for everything else comes about. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Mataji's anything? Yeah? No.
Is it good now? Yeah, it goes in and out. It goes in and out. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So you talked about the benefits of chanting. What would be the benefits of when you're singing the kirtan?
It's the same. So it's
The
singing
same? Okay.
is chanting. Chanting
Okay,
is
it's the
singing.
same as
Just
chanting.
Any
Okay, because I feel like I enjoy the kirtan more because I'm like a singer and a musician.
Yeah,
So I
good.
feel like I find myself more like doing that longer than it is for me to like be more concentrated when I am just chanting.
Yeah, that's good. Like Holtzberg was just saying, that you find what inspires you in Krishna consciousness, and whether it's reading Prabhupada's books. I mean, we should engage in all of the aspects of devotional service. But if the kirtan is what makes you feel the bliss, then that's good. You reflect on that and you do kirtan whenever you can, and you can sing in your home. You can have whatever harmonium or something or some kartals and just sing and just sit down and do some kirtan for some time. And come to the temple. Coming out with the Matajis and do a kirtan there at their house or whatever. So this is something that you can make a central part of your devotional services, engaging in this kirtan. So it's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? No. Okay. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki